other and all that. So we got pens and paper, and I want to do it like an active learning class because the content is going to be about holistic learning, and that's a bigger thing than active learning. But the modality of the workshop will be active learning. So I'd like to ask you to take notes. So we got paper and pens, and you don't have to take great notes, but a little something, you know. And also, I'd encourage you to draw doodles, and if you think of a picture that kind of goes with an idea, go ahead and draw that down. In the class, for class participation, all you have to do is show up and participate. You get either 100 or you get a 0. Everybody in your group is required to participate. Everybody has to participate. There's no sandbaggers. Now, my wife is an introvert. I'm an extrovert, sort of, but she's an introvert. And in classes where the teacher calls on her, she freaks out. She's dropped classes because it's so uncomfortable, like painful for her to speak in front of class. So I've never asked a student to speak in front of class. What I do is you have to speak in your room. A lot of times it's 4 people. So in a little group you have to interact. And if you're one of the chatty people that likes to talk, then your job in your group is to make sure you don't do all the talking. Each person in your group is responsible for making sure each other person in your group participates in the activities. All I gotta do is see a person not participating and boom, boom, bounce, 0. It's terrible. You don't have to do that exercise as well. You don't have to finish them. You just have to participate. That's it. That's all it is. All right. Moving on. Holistic learning. So I picked up on this. It's about identity, meaning, and purpose. This is what education is about. And so it made me think. Education it means more than money. If you ask college students why they're here to make more money, and they're here to get jobs. And that's the right answer. That's what most people say. But if you ask students what's important in life, you get very different answers, and they relate more to identity, purpose, and meaning. So I did this internet survey. Education means more than money, and I got 217 million hits, and most of them look like this. Apparently this idea of education means more than money has not caught on at all. 217 million. So I decided at that point I'm going to do research on identity. Love this, I'm a psychology guy, this is a psychology topic. So I looked up some research, and check this out. Dying people's top regret, main regret. What they did was they polled these elderly people that were terminally ill. And they asked them, what's your biggest regret in life? And this is what they said. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. The top regret in life is that I wasn't myself. I didn't establish my own identity. Number one regret. The other regrets had to do with having more contact with friends, being happier, they worked too much. And the other one was that they didn't have the courage to express their feelings. They didn't have one about the money or the job. That didn't show up in the top 5 anyway. Okay, so identity is important. It's way important. These people here missed the boat, man. They screwed up. They didn't get times out. The 2 big heavy hitters in psychology for identity are Erik Erikson and James Marcia. I like Erik Erikson because I named my son Harry Harrison. So they came up with 4 identity statuses. If you want to know an answer to a question about morality or politics or sports teams, ask a 6th grader. Because a 6th grader has a definitive answer for each one of those questions. And what's that answer? What's it going to be? It's going to likely be a direct reflection. It's going to be a carbon copy of the people who raised the kid. You know, my religion is going to be identical. My political stuff is going to be identical. My sports team is going to be identical. So as the kid grows up a little bit, then they sort of shift from being a carbon copy of the parents to being a carbon copy of all the other kids. So now they're copying all of them, you know. But in a healthy individual, they hit this stage of identity moratorium. And it's a place where you're exploring and trying to discover who you are. And if you don't do this, you're not healthy. We call it identity crisis, but it's a necessary thing for people to develop in a healthy way, and develop a healthy identity. I grew up in a plantation family in South Carolina, and my people have all kinds of values. They love each other, they're hardworking, they're honest, they're bigots, they're misogynists, they're uneducated, and the kids I grew up with all reflect those values. I'm fortunate. I went through an identity moratorium. And at that point, you take what makes sense to you and what fits with you, and you throw away the stuff that doesn't. Some people end up here, identity diffusion. And this is sort of chameleon. This is people who are like tumbleweeds. They don't really think about who they are, because whoever they're with, they just kind of mold themselves into that person. So they continue the copying routine for their whole life. And so sometimes, where you end up a 45-year-old woman, I don't know who I am. Man. That's this. That's this person. Identity diffusion. And it's related to a mental disorder called borderline personality disorder. You know anything about borderline? They found that there's a high correlation between people with identity diffusion and borderline personality. Borderline's kind of characterized by people who feel empty inside, and they sort of latch on to other people to fill the void. So it's identity diffusion. And then unfortunately, a huge, gigantic, monumental swath of humanity ends up here. Identity foreclosure. This is the person that stays the sixth grade. So they knew all the answers then, they know all the answers now. They never question them. They know the right answer. They know they're right about politics. They know they're right about religion. They know they're right about the sports team. These are the characteristics of those guys, and you probably run into some. High levels of conformity and authoritarianism. Low levels of aspiration change. Low levels. What that means is, why would I change? I already know the damn answers. I'm already there. You need to change. I'm good. They have low anxiety. These guys feel great about this. They're not uncomfortable with it. They've got it going on. Till they're terminally ill and old, and they realize that they've lived a life defined by other people. But during all up until that point, they're cool with it. They also have this stuff called defensive narcissism, which is basically I'm right and you're wrong. And also, when I think of defensive narcissism, I think of this phrase. Well, that's just how I was raised. Or I wasn't raised like that. Those phrases are nothing but an excuse for behaving in an immoral way. It's a bad excuse to behave badly. Let me see here. Foreclosed individuals, have experiences, and it's associated with racism and homophobia and stuff. You're kind of you're afraid whenever you're so right here at this point, go ahead and turn around into your groups. And what I'd like for you to do is, first of all, share your notes with the people in your group. If you didn't take notes, that's cool too. Just share what you picked up. It's always interesting to see what other people wrote down and compare it. Did they pick up on something you didn't pick up on, and that kind of stuff. once you've done that, once you've kind of shared that story, I'm going to want you to tell me one insight, profound insight you've gotten from this brilliant presentation so far.
We're fine.